Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. ICRC presents a new way to help families and communities cope with and manage the challenges of caregiving. We bring to you a form of audio respite, a podcast for caregivers who need self-care. Now is your time. The Inland Caregivers Corner is here to provide entertainment and encouragement. This podcast is dedicated to providing information to caregivers and tips on self-care from employees of ICRC, those who assist seniors, and members of the community. We bring to you episode 7 of the Inland Caregivers Corner. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 7 of the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the previous episode with bilingual Pearls counselors Joel Hernandez and America Navejas. I hope the episode provided further information on the Pearls program and the benefits it can provide to you. We always want more listeners. Tell everyone you know about the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. Our podcast is uploaded to YouTube the first of the month. Every month starting from last month. So it will be up on YouTube the first of the month moving forward. And some episodes are short, some are long, but they all provide great information. For those who've been listening from the first episode, thank you so much. It is greatly appreciated. And to those just getting started, welcome. And thank you for checking out the podcast. Check out the previous episode on the Pearls program. The episode is awesome and it can provide great information to you on the Pearls program. That's a program to encourage active and rewarding lives in seniors. And how to join the Pearls program as well. It talks about that process and how you join. It is October, so summer is finally over, which I'm so happy about. Fall weather is here. Pumpkin spice, scary movies are here. So we have that going, and it's a lot cooler, which I'm very happy about. On this episode, we will continue to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month as it goes into October. And then October is also Mental Illness Awareness Month and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In October, there's also World Mental Health Day on Sunday, October 10th, 2021, and World Stroke Day on Friday, October 29th, 2021. I wrote that in there. I don't know why. It is 2021 for those listening in 2022. This was recorded in 2021. I'm your host, Derek Chacon, and I am a care coordinator with Inland Caregiver Resource Center, ICRC for short. Today on the podcast, we have a great guest. She is a Pearls counselor with ICRC and has joined me on the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast to provide information, tips, and encouragement on her experience with breast cancer. So I want to welcome Stephanie Hensley to the podcast. Hope you enjoy my conversation with her. It was great. So here it is.
How are you? How are you doing, Stephanie?
Hi. I'm doing pretty good. Just kind of recuperating in limbo in between some treatments, but I'm doing good overall.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So it's been a while since we last spoke to you. What's been up? What's been going on?
Yeah, it has been a while, so I do appreciate being called and asked to speak about breast cancer awareness this month. Yeah, so it's been a journey, as they say. I took medical leave last November, and so I've just been undergoing cancer treatment since, and I'm still doing that. So it really is, when I found out my diagnosis, they said, this is going to be a journey, and yeah, they were absolutely right.
Yeah, it's crazy that they phrase it that way,
Yeah.
because it definitely has, for those who don't follow Stephanie on social media. She has been going through this journey of breast cancer. I'm not specific on what type it is. Maybe what type is it, or what was
Yeah.
the diagnosis?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I first received my diagnosis, they said it was invasive ductile carcinoma. That's this crazy name, which is actually like the most common type of breast cancer. So when they told me that, it was very alarming. But at the same time, I was like, okay, it's the most common. That means there's more, treatment for it. I'm going to be okay. I didn't have any fear for it because I just knew with all the research in modern medicine, I just knew that I would get through it, or it would be surgically removed, or whatever the plan may turn out to be. And as more time went on, more biopsies happened. It turns out that it was triple negative breast cancer. And so not too many people are familiar with that. But it is it's a very aggressive type of breast cancer, mainly because it grows and spreads fast. And so by the time that they determined what the real diagnosis was, I already had like 4 breast lumps in my breast, and it already spread to the lymph nodes in my armpit. And so it was just happening really fast.
Geez, so that's stuff that I didn't know. I'm just finding out now, and it's really shocking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's very heavy. It's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, how do I process this? This kind of news. It can be
yeah,
very overwhelming.
definitely. Just for those who are listening, I've known Stephanie a long time. I've known her since high school. I think it's been
Yeah.
over 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah. She's,
That flew
uh,
by.
but she's always been an awesome person, an awesome friend to me, someone that I do truly care about. So to hear that diagnosis, it was gut wrenching to me, because it's just like, no, like that's not stuff like that doesn't happen. That's not supposed to happen to my friends yet. You just think about all these different things because you're younger. I think I'm 35. I think you're 30, gonna be 30.
I'm 32 now.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, but
All right.
exactly, just like the fact that we're young, you don't think about that happening. But unfortunately, breast cancer, like triple negative, is more common in younger people. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
having that in mind and having a BRCA mutation, being positive for a BRCA gene, also put me at higher risk for cancer. So I kind of always knew it could happen. So I was just always very proactive about my health and being knowledgeable about my family genetics, and just being more aware of how to prevent something like that. But, as much as you can prepare, things still happen anyway, things out of our control. And, you just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, yeah, going back to hearing that diagnosis, it was like I said, it was gut wrenching, and then to hear you explain it just now, of it being triple negative, and just you. I guess I'll start with my experience with breast cancer was just like it was in '95. My grandma had it. I didn't really see all the treatments that she did. It was just it just happened. I thought it was just this disease. It's a horrible disease, but I didn't really know too much about it. So to hear you right now about speak about your diagnosis and state it's aggressive, but then explain all the things that happened after that diagnosis, it's like, wow, like that's
Right.
wild. Like there's lumps, there's did you say your lymph nodes like near your armpit, or
Yeah. So, we have lymph nodes in our armpit and our neck, and
mm,
it had spread to my armpit. And so by the time I started cancer treatment, um, I was already considered stage 3.
jeez.
So that's how quickly that type of breast cancer is. So it's really good that I was proactive still, in spite of, a late, or not late, but at at a more advanced diagnosis, definitely not the advanced, that would be stage 4, but just to be proactive about our health is so vital. It could literally save your life.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not going to the doctor consistently, or if you haven't been in a while, go get that checked out, get yourself checked out, I should say, and find out where you are as far as like a baseline, and then begin
Yeah.
to do things that are beneficial just to take control of your health, so you know exactly where you stand with your health. I mean, because you never really know until you go and talk to somebody. And I think health is really vital, especially right now in the time that we're in. A lot of people want to stay healthy. You had spoken about the BRCA. Is it
BRCA
BRCA
gene.
BRCA gene?
Yeah.
So how'd you hear about that, or how did you um, think to check that, or go into that gene mutation? I'm
Yeah.
familiar with that.
So unfortunately, these dang BRCA genes, it runs heavily throughout my family. And so that's a big red flag. If you have a family history of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, you name it, um, that puts you at a higher risk because of genetics, right? Everything gets passed on, or it's a possibility for for you to be positive as well. And so a lot of my cousins and my aunts decided to get tested because um, my great great aunts passed at a young age from breast cancer. In fact, I remember my 30th birthday, or I'm sorry, my 31st birthday, because I had already been undergoing chemo for quite some time. And I just remember like thinking of my aunt who died from breast cancer, died at 30. And so I just remember feeling so lucky that I get to live another year, and she didn't get to. And so it's just wild to think about age in that perspective. So the BRCA genes. So then once we realized that there was this family history of the BRCA mutation and also of breast cancer and ovarian cancer, um, we decided to do what's called genetic counseling. And you can find out about that through your healthcare. And it's simply creating a family tree with a counselor, and then taking a test, like through the LabCorp, and seeing if you are positive for either mutation. So there's the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 gene mutations. And when I say BRCA, because that sounds weird, it's BRCA. That's just breast cancer gene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like,
Let me just clarify that.
I was gonna ask, like, does that stand for something afterwards? But that makes
Yeah.
sense. So BRCA, okay. So now I get the pronunciation too, so I could say it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so they are different. There's the BRCA1, BRCA2, so they are different. But overall, it's basically increasing your likelihood for breast and ovarian cancer, which also, by the way, can happen for men, especially if you're positive for the BRCA2 mutation. So just being more aware, even as a man, you could get breast cancer.
Definitely. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you brought it up because I know that, I mean, even myself in the beginning, it was like, well, I don't have breasts, so there's no way I can get breast cancer. But it's not that. I mean, males do get breast cancer, so
I
it
was
is
saying,
good
you do
to.
have breasts, though.
Well, I mean, like, I guess
Just
you know what
teasing.
I mean. We're gonna cut that out. Yeah. But well, yeah, you do. But I mean, you would think of like just bigger, like
Yeah.
you would think the bigger it is, the more susceptible it is. But it's true that that males, are able to gain breast cancer, and I guess I should say it's
Hmm.
more uncommon. So males
Yeah,
don't
that's a
don't
good
think of
point.
that. It's an uncommon diagnosis, but it,
Yes, it
it
is
does
rare.
happen. Yeah, but it
Hmm.
does happen, and it is good to as we said, to look into. I did like that. It was genetic counseling, right? That's what you said.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Genetic counseling. So I didn't realize that existed. If you were to go, how do you find out about other family members? Do they like go into medical records, or do you just show them that information and they like put it together or something like that?
That's the tricky part. Not everyone is as fortunate as my family is to know our genetic history. Like my husband does not know a lot about his family's genetic history. Um, so it's really what you are knowledgeable about and able to provide to the counselor, and they're able to, follow the next steps with you. So I think it's unique situations, um, but it's very easy to set up, and it's very simple to just ask your primary care doctor, like, hey, I'm concerned about this background, or I'm concerned about possibly having this cancer run in my family. How can I go about that? They would be the person to set up the referrals, maybe even reach out to a social worker on site, and they would be the ones providing that kind of resource.
If you're interested in that, just talk to your primary care physician. I mean, it's funny because I'm trying to like, how do you do that? It sounds so complicated. And it's like, well, you just ask.
Yes.
I'm like, oh,
It's okay, because it's scary and it's new territory, so sometimes you don't know where to start. But that's where I'm just like, okay, all I got to do is ask questions and it'll get me somewhere.
it's true. Very simple. And even if it's not pertaining to your own health, just life in general, just ask questions because
Yeah.
you don't know where that'll get you. So you have become aware and knowledgeable of these genetics. When you received your diagnosis, how was that feeling? Was it like, I can't imagine, because when you get news like that, you take time to accept it, but in that moment, I think of like Breaking Bad, right? Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yes. And I'm
Okay.
wondering why you're referencing that.
So I know. So he Walter White gets told, hey, you have cancer. He just goes, okay, and he leaves. Like, he doesn't really say anything. Like, they're like, here's the counseling pamphlet, do what you will. How is that for you?
It was oddly a huge sense of relief having an answer. And let me explain that. um, for me, when I found out, I was undergoing different biopsies and ultrasounds and mammograms because I had actually found a breast lump just by self-examination. I was checking myself out, like feeling myself and feeling something different in one of my breasts that alarmed me. And I had actually put genetic counseling on hold because I just had my daughter, maybe like a couple months. I can't, well, she was born in March. I know when she was born. um, but I just, my full attention was on her, my newborn, and my new family. And so I just put genetic counseling on hold with full intention of, finding out if I was positive, which obviously I turned out to be. So when I found the lump, I knew to schedule an appointment right away. And that was going to be with my PCP, because I just knew I was going to have to go through all these hoops to get a referral to see my gyno, because that's just, healthcare over here.
Yeah. Whole nother episode for that.
Yeah. And so I'm awaiting this appointment to be seen, to get a referral to be seen by another doctor, the obstacles. And so once I'm finally seen by the right doctor, we had the conversation of family history and yada, 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 and why I need to get tested to see if it's cancerous or not. Or just to see if it's even just like a cyst or something benign, right? And so unfortunately, it did turn out to be malignant. And I was actually at Walmart with my husband. I think we were getting, I don't know, groceries or something. And I got a call, and it was the nurse, and I was asked to come in. And obviously, when you get a phone call like that, it's like, that's bad news.
Yeah,
But
it's never
right?
it's never good.
But in my mind, I'm like, no, optimistic all the way. They just want to tell me in person that I'm okay and I have nothing to worry about.
Right.
So, you know what I said to the nurse? I said, yeah, well, I'm out with my husband right now and we're just finishing grocery shopping. So, can I go in like an hour or two?
Yeah.
And literally, as I'm saying that, I'm like, what am I talking about? I'll be there as soon as possible. Right.
I
Um,
would I would have taken the hour. I'd have been like, yeah, I'll get there. What time do you close?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he got to go with me. And this was right when, the pandemic was getting worse and things were closing down. And they were only seeing the patient, they weren't allowing any visitors. But as soon as the nurse let him go back there with me, I knew it was going to be bad news. And so I was just like, internally telling this internal dialogue of just, it's going to be okay, like no matter what they say. And we sat there, the doctor came in the room and he said, he had this like long pause and this very calming voice. And in my head, I'm just like, spit it out,
Yeah.
Like, can you just tell me I don't like this game?
Yeah, and that's why I laugh, because I'm like just lay it on me. Like, don't,
Yes.
like, don't sit me down. Don't, like, you just tell me so
Mm-hmm.
I can begin my own coping skills and begin
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Granted, everybody responds differently. He was
True.
probably nervous that I would just start sobbing or who knows, Um, but he said it was the lump was cancerous, and that they were going to they were going to be doing another biopsy, because within that time frame of waiting to be seen, I actually got another lump, right? Because it was spreading. And so yeah, so that's why by the time I started chemo, it was already 4 lumps in the breast. But I just remember feeling so relieved, because it was like, no more waiting. We know what this is. And now I'm ready to beat the hell out of this thing. I'm ready to do what I need to do, because I have a daughter, I have a husband, and I'm not ready to leave yet.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I just got in
exactly.
like game mode, like just like this warrior mode. I don't know. It sounds so cheesy,
Yeah.
but I was really just like, okay, it's cancer. Okay, what do we do now?
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
I love that, because if it is this diagnosis and you can't change it, okay, then what's the plan? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
How do I beat this thing? And I love that you said that. Like, I have a daughter, I have a husband, like, I'm not going anywhere,
Hmm.
let's figure this out. And
Yes.
I think like, especially just having your daughter, and I know for me, like, I know my kid is 9, but every day I think that I'm like, I'm not going today. Like, I'm doing what I can to be healthy, to be around, to just be here for my kids and my wife. And so it's great that that mentality just switched. Like, it wasn't this like, oh, what am I going to do? And I'm sure that happens. Those
Oh
thoughts
yeah.
go through,
Oh
but but
yeah.
but in the beginning, it's like, all right, like, what now? Where do we go from here? Because I'm trying to, like, I got to get home and play with my kid. Like, what do I got to do?
Yes.
So I love that. That's awesome. To now, like, uh, do they call it like a treatment plan or care plan?
Yeah, yeah. So from there, I got to meet my oncologist, my care team. It just became this like whole new world. So I started chemotherapy. That was going to be my first treatment. And so that's nerve-wracking because you hear chemo and it's just like terrifying. You just hear nothing but horror stories. You hear how difficult it is, how much of a toll it takes on your body, your emotional well-being, mental health. I mean, it's
Oh
just like
yeah,
it impacts everything. It
yeah.
impacts your loved ones, and who people who are basically they become your caregivers, and so there's so much change happening so quickly. And I have my 1-year-old daughter who's growing, and I want to be able to take care of her and teach her and be as present as I can be with her. Yeah, so it started off very overwhelming, once it got going. Um, but that was the start of my treatment, was chemotherapy. I did 16 rounds, which is a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, I started in November and I finished in April,
So it's about 6 months.
about 6 months of chemo, and that was like a whole thing.
I think with that, you really do have to take it a day at a time, right? Like you can't
Yes.
just like, all right, first round done, I'm gonna go to the next one. It's like you really do have to check in every day and just be like, you know what, I'm all right. We made it through this round, on to the next.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And honestly, like it inspired me to I've always been like this documenter. Like I love blogging. I've always been a blogger. I did it throughout high school. I find strength in sharing our stories. And so if I can empower another person through my story, it just makes me feel alive. Right. And so I just knew in my heart that I needed to share what I was dealing with, even if it was awful. um, I just wanted to kind of put my story out there and see if it could help somebody else who's going through the same thing. So I created an Instagram because I thought that would be a quick way to reach people. And through that, I used my blog to reference to. Like, hey, new blog post about this, new blog post about this subject, how I prepared for chemo, for example, those kind of things. And so that started opening this huge breast cancer community that you didn't really know much about. I mean, you hear about it, you hear about the relay runs and the fundraisers, and you see the pink ribbon everywhere. Um, and it's just such a like normal thing. It's so normal to hear about breast cancer and so normal to see that. But to actually be part of the community is very, I don't know, it's very emotional to say
yeah,
the least.
no, I can imagine. And I was gonna say I can confirm that that you have always done that for as long as I've known you. You know, it's always been writing and books, and I think you were doing
Yeah.
some poetry for a minute.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, yeah, I remember all that stuff because I thought it was really cool because I mean, when when we began to know each other, we were really into, um, music and art and different types of outlets. So
Mhm.
to see somebody do that, it's interesting, because it's like, wow, like if this person can do it, why can't I do it? Type of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely. You've been doing that for a long time, and how it felt like to me, like joining you on this journey. And I know like a lot of people are like, it's easy to just hit like the like button or whatever, but I feel like every time I did that, it was like, hey, you got this. Like, like I can't
Mhm.
be there to tell you you got this, but
Mhm.
virtually I can be like, hey, you got this. And I think I would even comment sometimes like, hey,
Yeah.
stay strong. You're doing those things. And I know like a lot of people say that to you as well. But I mean, for me, it was nice to at least be on this journey virtually with you to see it. And also like how cool was it that that you just wanted to share. Like you just wanted to share this to empower others. Just not a lot of people want to do that. Some people want to keep it private, but I feel it was great to see all the milestones that you hit, all the struggles that you had, because it was very honest. Even in the blog posts, I enjoyed the ones that were just like, "Hey, I forgot. I haven't been writing on this thing in a while because I've just been tired." But it's like, yeah,
Right.
you get that sense of like, well, yeah, you're tired because you're in this wild journey, and I'm sure there's a
Hmm.
ton of treatments and emotions, and then you have this family, a new family, and you're like doing that and enjoying that. So it's like it was just cool to see a glimpse of that journey that you were going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for saying that. It was very important to me to be transparent about this because it would bring more awareness about it. And also, you know, without having to inform all of my loved ones, they just automatically found out about what was going on with me, how I'm doing. But also they didn't have to feel so helpless, and not know what to do. And um, it just kind of provided this like comfort for all of us. Like you said, we're in this together. And so I think that's just so important. Being able to be open about our struggles and things that are hard can actually lead us to, see all the silver linings in it all.
Yeah, it developed a community for you as an individual
Mm-hmm.
online, and in the same way that how we were talking about the breast cancer community with the pink ribbon and things like that, and the relays and stuff, that developed a community as well for other people, and it's great that people support those things and do those things, but to actually be close to those people's journeys, it's like that's a lot of the emotional stuff, that's a lot of the heavy, like, I mean, this person went through this and this person's doing this and this person's in remission, so it hasn't been fully cleared, but like she's doing
Yes.
okay. Like it's just so, man, it's like just ups and downs, and I mean a
Mm-hmm.
roller coaster of emotions, to use that phrase.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah. So, um, after, well, I should say during chemo, there's so much loss still happening, even though this treatment was working, and it was hard, but it was working. So it was really hard to feel down or feel, well, in my words, sorry for myself, because I'm the type of person that is very, I put everybody else before myself. And this time it was like, no, you have to just take care of yourself and listen to your body and just, go lie down if you need to and whatever. And so that was a struggle for me. That loss of not feeling independent anymore was really hard, and relying on my loved ones to do these little tasks that were so simple for me, because it's it's a lot of chemicals running through your body, and it impacts so much of your physical being that it ends up impacting your emotional well-being as well. So um that was a lot. And even just like the loss of my hair, which
uh,
sounds so a little vain to bring up, but um
no, not
I
vain
have
at all.
I had never been bald. And I mean, I'm sure when I was a baby, but I haven't been
Right,
bald since I was a baby. And so,
right.
so that was a lot. But, at the end of the day, it's like life is more important than any physical part of ourselves or our appearance. And just being able to say, treatment is working. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to survive this. That outweighs anything.
yeah, it makes you not even think of like hair loss or anything. I mean, I'm sure it's there. You look in a mirror and things like that, but
Yes,
hair's not a big
yes.
deal. So, um, and it was cool to see, because I think you posted a picture of it like shorter or buzzed a little bit, and I was like, nice, like it looks good, like it, and a lot of the times it does. Like I don't know what it is. I know that there's those feelings of femininity, like the long flowing hair. It's okay. It doesn't take away from me as a person, as a beautiful person. I'm able to get rid of this disease and continue to live.
Absolutely. I mean, that was probably one of my biggest struggles, is deciding what femininity meant to me,
Ooh, yeah, okay.
and I had never really dealt with that before because I just always saw myself as a woman, and it really wasn't until I lost my hair and then having to go through this decision making of, I have to have a double mastectomy, first of all. And not only do I have to go through this very invasive and intense surgery, but I have to decide, do I want to have reconstruction or not? And that was a really hard decision for me. And I didn't think it would be until I really kind of, processed my feelings and done research and talked to other women, who had to go through surgery as well. And just really inform myself to make a well decision, one that I was happy with, because it's my body. I'm the one who's going to have to live with it. So
Absolutely.
So it wasn't what society thought. It's how do I feel about this?
So with those other women that you spoke with, I'm just assuming that they had to make that same decision of reconstructive surgery. Did they feel similar feelings, like it was a really difficult decision, or was it 50-50 like some women did? Some were like, no, I want my breast back, which is totally fine. But I'm just curious as to, like, was it just like a no-brainer decision for the women that you spoke with, or was it, I'm not really sure. I don't know if I want breasts or not, or if I want to gain that reconstructive surgery.
Yeah, it was, I would say 50-50. A lot of women were either very had strong decisions about it, like I do want reconstruction, I want to feel like a woman still kind of perspective. Whereas other women were like, no, I don't need that, like that gave me cancer. Like, I don't want that anymore. Like, I just don't want to go through any more surgery. And or there was women who were just, on the fence and just were not sure, like myself. And so it was really helpful to hear all those sides, to just see that bigger picture, like, okay, this is how this perspective is for, why they're choosing it and why they're not. And it just, it really helped me decide what I wanted to do.
I'm assuming this is through, like, was this through Instagram, or is this just people that you knew?
Yeah. So through my own Instagram account, there's actually, other cancer pages that were very specific to the type of breast cancer I had. And so I would follow them a lot and talk to the women who had similar treatment plans, similar breast cancer types, et cetera. And so it was very specific to what I was going through.
I asked that because it's great when folks are using the internet to build that community with people, on the other side of the world or in another state, because
Yes.
you're going through a similar battle or a similar journey. You're able to reach out, and in turn they're able to reply to you, and you can speak with that person. You can gain encouragement with that person, just by sharing your story on social media. I think that's one of the benefits of it. It's great. I'm sure there's a ton of I know there's a ton of negatives, but using it when using it in that sense, builds emotional support too, just to know that you're not the only one, and it can feel like that sometimes, especially going through such a huge journey like breast cancer.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just so many ups and downs during it. Um, I think I struggled more during radiation treatment, which I had to do after chemo, or I'm sorry, after my surgery. Um, and I think just because I've been dealing with this for quite a while now. And so just the toll of it all. But, just having this support system really makes a difference. And it's a global support system. I've been getting messages from people all over the world, which is just incredible. And it's at no cost. It's literally
Yeah.
just kindness, being kind to one another and saying, hey, you're not alone. And this is what I did. These are my remedies. And, even just to vent to somebody makes a huge difference.
But I do want to get clear that the chemotherapy was through the IV and portocath, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the radiation, how is that treatment done?
Through this huge, scary machine. No. but really, it's giant. It was called True Beam. And I was in the True Beam room. I had to say that every time I checked in. I'm in the
Wow.
True Beam room, like I'm checking into a hotel room or something.
Yeah, some
But
classy hotel room.
and kind of similar, I did have to just lie there, like I'm resting, but really your arms are in this very awkward position. And it's basically, this machine is just like radiating the areas. And so for me, it was my whole chest wall,
Wow.
my throat, and my armpit. So it was like, basically my upper body.
Yeah.
Yeah, radiation was no joke. I mean, chemo was hard. Don't get me wrong. Chemo is hard, but radiation is so tiring. I was
So
so tired. I still feel tired. I still feel after effects.
that's horrible. Like when you're laying down in this machine, um, it's like, do you feel the rays? Is it like a heat or like a, I mean, or is it just light? Like, I don't know. How does
You know,
that,
it's
how do you
crazy
describe
because
that?
like maybe back in the day it was like that, but modern technology, y'all, is way better. So
Right.
you don't feel it. It's just, I mean, it's awkward the way your arms have to be. So my arms were always sore. In fact, I got a bruise because of the way you have to lie there. You
Oh,
have to lie very still for 20 minutes. Um, and your arms are just like up, and it's just a weird position. But anyway, I think that's what hurts more, is just feeling like your arms are sore, like you just did a workout or something.
hmm.
And having to do that Monday through Friday, every day, um, became very, very tiring. But you don't really feel the rays hitting you, even though it is essentially burning your skin, to burn the cancer cells. So yeah, over time you start seeing the skin changes, which ultimately look like a very bad sunburn. You start peeling like a sunburn, but don't put any sunblock on. That was a huge no-no, which you wouldn't think, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a whole nother thing I had to learn to take care of, and my family had to learn to take care of.
I was keeping up with the blog, and I read this post about the bell when you're done with treatment, like ringing the bell, and you had spoken to somebody about it, and you had said, oh, okay, like when do I don't know how the conversation came up, but when do I ring the bell, or am I able to ring the bell? But the guy or the nurse or who was helping answered with, "We don't do that here." And And then
Yes.
he had said like, okay, well, I need that to, ensure that I'm done with this treatment. So, pretty much like the way I heard it is like, so we're doing that today, or
This
whenever.
is gonna
So
happen.
yeah, this is gonna happen. And I loved that, and I thought it was great. So with that bell, ringing and that significance, I wanted to talk about that and ask you, how important was that to you? I mean, I know with the blog post, it's very important, but just in your words, why was that so important to you?
Yeah, thanks for asking about that and just like first off following along my journey in itself, but
Of course, definitely.
I don't want to forget to mention that. But ringing the bell is huge. It's such a big deal. And honestly, I would not have known that it was such a big deal if I hadn't had done it already for chemo. I knew that ringing the bell would be a big deal just because I had done it already after chemo. And so I didn't know that they weren't going to have that after radiation. I guess that's not a normal or common thing. And so I was just kind of anticipating it would happen. And when it didn't, I had to ask, like, I don't understand. Where, am I going to ring a bell tomorrow? Like, what do I
Yeah,
tell my family? Like, can they come? Like,
yeah.
you
No, I
know?
love that. Yeah,
And they were just like, yeah, we don't do that here. And it just made my heart sink because I immediately thought of all the people who unfortunately have to do radiation. And maybe that's the only treatment they do, but still, it's scary, it's overwhelming, and it's really hard to find closure in treatment. Just
yeah,
leaving a hospital or leaving the cancer center, that's not enough closure. Um, so ringing the bell, I just feel like is a huge way to solidify a milestone, and it's joyous. I mean,
yeah.
you think ringing a bell is like, ooh, that's noisy and that might be annoying, or whatever. I mean, it's fast usually, but just the ability to, the tactile feeling of holding something. It's typically as soon as treatment's done. And so the nurses will come around and hand the bell to you. Hopefully, a loved one can be there too. Otherwise, thank goodness for phones and Zoom and things like that.
Yeah,
And you literally just shake this joyous celebration of finishing something you never asked for, you know?
yeah,
No one asks to have cancer. Like it's literally one of those things you just never hope happens to you. And so just being able to have that kind of moment, even with your care team, because they're through this whole journey with you.
yeah,
Um, it's such a way to embrace what's happening, embrace the successes, and even just acknowledge the hardship of it all. So it was very important to me to let them know how I felt.
yeah. No, I'm so happy because it does. It signifies a victory. It signifies like, all right,
Yes.
I'm done. Like on to the next one. Um, and so yeah, I in reading that story it was just like, yeah, like go, go Steph, because you're like, well, I need one. And I need it here,
I was like,
So
I will donate it. Like, this is
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I loved that because it's true. Everyone should have that time to themselves to signify their
Hmm.
their own victory, their own milestone in their treatment. So I'm glad that that was acknowledged and that they now know. I would think, and if not the entire facility, that nurse or whoever that was working with you knows the significance of that now. You know, I'd like to think it changed his perspective on that. He or
Well,
she, I don't know.
what was really cool is that they weren't they didn't just brush it off. And maybe because I was just like so passionate about it, like almost teary-eyed as I spoke.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if they just said this to shut me up even, but um, they basically said like, we never really thought about it in that way. Thanks for telling us. Like, we're going to make sure that this happens for other patients. Like, we are going to look into this.
Yes.
And so, if anything came from that, if they do have a bell now, that would be incredible. Um, just the fact that I said something like, at least I tried.
Yeah. That advocacy is awesome, because
Yes.
you don't know if you're, for those who work there in the facility, it's their job and it's what they do, and I'm sure they do it very well. But I mean, that's a significant thing, and it brings, I think it brings joy to a lot of people if you're in that facility. I mean, you're like, yeah, so and so, is done. Like, good
Mm-hmm.
job. It's just, it's a joyous thing. Like you said, it's really fun, and yeah, maybe it can be annoying, but I mean, the significance of it is really powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
With the chemotherapy, you was, aside from losing your hair and things like that, were there any other after effects that you felt?
Oh, yes. So there's this thing called Chemo Brain that is very real. And I remember reading about it through Instagram as a hashtag.
Oh, okay.
Like literally hashtag chemo brain. I thought, what in the world is that? And I literally experience it on a daily basis. And it's simply feeling very forgetful. Um, you'll be doing a task and you just suddenly can't remember what you were going to do next, and you misplace everything. I had two pairs of glasses. I just had to get a third. I had two pairs of glasses and I've lost them in my own house. Haven't gone anywhere. I've lost them here. They're still not found. I had to order another pair. It just interrupts a lot of things, because you're just like, what was I going to do? It's like that feeling when you go in the kitchen and you can't remember why you were there.
Like absent-minded type of
Yes,
thing?
very absent-minded.
Okay. All right.
And it's funny because I used to tease my husband all the time for misplacing things. And I am so much worse now. Like, I can't make fun of him at all anymore.
So those glasses, were they like seeing glasses or like sunglasses or?
No, seeing, like, I need these things. I'm
No.
blind.
So you're like, I can't see for a week. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, at least
So,
eventually you'll find them, hopefully, and you'll have
right?
extra sets. So on the positive right there.
Silver lining.
You know what I do want to ask? So, since this is the Inland Caregiver Corner podcast, you had started with ICRC. For those who don't know, Inland Caregiver Resource Center, that's ICRC. You started as an intern and you were assisting caregivers, and you were assisting, or then you became a Pearls counselor, who then began speaking with caregivers and hearing their caregiving situation. Um, how was it, if you had any type of feeling of suddenly seeing your family turn into caregivers, and see the maybe similarities between those that you were assisting and then now actual caregivers that you have that are providing care to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, it was very eye-opening, because, I've been a Pearls counselor for over 2 years. And even before that, even before ICRC, I was a caregiver for older adults, like a professional caregiver.
I didn't
And
know that.
so just hearing their stories for a decade, hearing their struggles, hearing the frustrations, I finally felt that way too. I was always
Mhm.
empathetic about it, but
Yeah.
I didn't know I hadn't gone through that frustration. I hadn't gone through that kind of loss. I hadn't gone through these role changes, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I was always
definitely.
the one providing care, and now someone's providing care for me. Like, what? So it was just, it was very hard for me to accept it. But the more I accepted it, the more I could get better, you know, the more I could feel better. Um, it really correlated to my overall well-being if I just accepted that help. But it was really, I had to fight my own self, you know, um,
Yeah.
to 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 just accept it, to let go and accept the help because I needed it, you know?
Yeah. No,
And
yeah.
that was a big realization, just like accepting the help you didn't think you needed. Um, that changed me.
That's good. I definitely want to say that again. Accepting the help that you, what is it? Accepting the help that you didn't think you needed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a simplified way of what maybe a lot of caregivers feel like, oh, I'm good. I'm taking care of it. I'm taking care of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think you need, services like respite care or counseling, or Pearls counseling, or
Mm-hmm.
education classes until you say to yourself, you know what, maybe I should try this, or maybe I should um, see what this is about. It could
Mm-hmm.
assist me. And then all of a sudden you're going to these classes and you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize this is so beneficial to me. Um, so I think I think that was great that you said that. And I want to try to repeat it, but I'm forgetful too. Um,
That's okay.
it was it was accepting the help you didn't think you needed, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I think that's a really really perfect way to just state that that's that similarity um,
Yeah. And
for
I mean,
caregivers.
honestly, I didn't want to need it. Um,
Mhm.
and so that was my own battle, that was my own conflict with myself that I had to overcome. And that takes work. And you know what? I sought out counseling and whew. If you have ever done counseling, oh my, is I wish I
Yeah,
had done it when I was a teenager. I mean, um it's such an eye opener. It's such an opportunity for yourself to to learn more about yourself, to learn your wants and your values, and recognize that you're not perfect.
yeah,
And there's just some things that we need to open our minds to and learn about.
it is. It's extremely, sorry, I like stuttered there. It's extremely eye-opening, and it introduces yourself to yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
as plain as I'll say
Yes.
that, because I've been going, and I'll share a little bit. I've been going since I was in fourth grade, um, and so I've been going
Oh,
a long time
yeah.
for different reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
when I became married, when I became a father, a lot of changes that would be happy and people would be excited about scared me, like scared
Mm-hmm.
me deeply, because where of growing up and how that happened. Um, but I absolutely agree with you. And one thing I wanted to add was that not only does it show you yourself, but it shows why why you think the way you do, why you feel the way you do when you see certain things. Nothing is by accident, honestly. Like it has to do with, your upbringing, where you grew up, how you grew up, like all these different things. Um, and it just builds this person. And when you don't take the time to get to know that person, that's when you can possibly look to other things like different ways to cope, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be not so beneficial for you. um,
Absolutely.
I'm a huge advocate for counseling, even if it's just one session. I mean, it's so helpful and it's so eye-opening. I'll agree with you on that, because you're just like, wow, like I did not even think that um, this this incident or this something somebody told me would affect me so much, but now I understand why. With counseling, did you begin going before that?
It really encouraged me to seek counseling once I was undergoing treatment. And I had started first at my cancer center. Um, I don't know. I mean, in the beginning, it's so overwhelming. So you meet all these people, different doctors, different nurses, a whole care team of people. Um, and there's so much information thrown at you, and it's such a different world, being in a healthcare setting like that. And so, you meet these people, and sometimes you forget, oh, one of them's a social worker, one of them is a licensed professional counselor, that can provide all these resources for you, that honestly, I don't think that they're reached out to enough, and they're there at your disposal, like
Hmm. Yeah,
they are available and have the tools that you may be needing. And often maybe you don't even realize that you need it. So I started there at the counselor center, and then over time found a counselor that really met my needs, and our conversations were the kind that I needed. So it does, you can be picky when it comes to your counselor, but I think just like getting your foot in that door and letting yourself have that kind of dialogue, can make a huge difference.
definitely. Yeah, I've heard. Well, I do want to say that with October, October is Mental Illness Awareness Month. So I am glad that we are able to talk about this. And I also wanted to say, um, I don't know if I read it somewhere or somebody told me, but that counselors are like shoes. Like you can put one on and it may feel comfortable for a little bit, but then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. Like maybe you outgrew it, maybe you not providing the support that you need, in a sense. So you don't just like stop wearing shoes. You go and find a different one that
Yeah.
So I
Oh, I
always thought
love that. Yeah, that
yeah.
makes total sense.
Yeah, I always thought that was really cool. And I don't know who said that to me or something, but I've always remembered that um, in my journey of going, it's like, okay, I'm good now, but let me go find someone else because I'm looking for something different. So you never really stop like going. It's just you find
Mm-hmm.
what you need at the time, or if you don't need it for a while, you don't need it for a while, and then you just when you
Mm-hmm.
need to, you'll know, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're familiar. If not, then you try it out and see if it works. And then plus
Mm-hmm.
two, you're fighting cultural stigmas like um, I know for me, being Mexican American, being Chicano, it's something you just don't do. You don't really talk about your problems. You just kind of you know shove it down, and eventually it goes away when it really doesn't. Honestly, like I will be blunt and honest, never goes away. All those pains that you feel don't go away. They don't go away until you express them either to the person that hurt you or to yourself, and you build that understanding of like, okay, this is why I'm upset. This is why these certain things upset me. It is because of this um, moment
Mm-hmm.
or this phrase or this whatever happened to you, this trauma, and it's okay, and I'm okay, and I can feel those feelings, but I'm still all right because I outgrew that. um, so those things don't go away. If you are struggling with anger or aggression or depression, sadness, um, feeling lonely, I just want to do, I want to say, I want to encourage, I should say, I want to encourage you to go and just, see what's out there, see if there is a counselor that you're aware of that may assist you, or, just talk to somebody, a friend, relative, someone who can listen to you, because that's a big deal. And really all counseling is it's, you're talking, you're expressing these feelings and then understanding why they are, why you're feeling that way. Um, with October being Mental Illness Awareness Month, if you need assistance, there's a ton of websites. I know connectie.org is a great one, and you can go on there, look up for a counselor in your area, and give them a call, see if you like them, see if you don't, and continue on in getting better as far as health, mental health, and physical health, to ensure you have an amazing life.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even just our agency in itself, if you're a caregiver and you are struggling, we are a resource center. We are an option for you. We have counselors, we have family consultants. We can make your load a little lighter,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I just love that you said, it takes time, and it takes venting, and it takes addressing our emotions. And sometimes you have to do that many times, about the same thing. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Especially if that pain was so deep. You have to learn to let go many times.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It can come out in different ways. So maybe, as I said, I used a phrase. So you hear a phrase, all of a sudden it like hits you. You get really angry, or you get irritated, or something. Then you let it go, and then all of a sudden it's, it can honestly be anything. It can be weather. It could be um, someone in a type of clothing. It's just, you build these triggers,
Mm-hmm.
and you attach them to this trauma that you had that affected you, um, and you can be just breaking it down on your own, and all of a sudden the phrases don't hurt you, and then the clothing doesn't hurt you, and then it could be gone, or it could, turn into something else. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to be aware, and I think anybody would agree that you're preparing yourself, and it's always good to be prepared and let you know where
Mm-hmm.
that's coming from. So
Yeah. So being aware of your emotions, and, being aware of your body as well, and just knowing your body and knowing when there's any differences. Like myself, like knowing that, oh, that lump was not there,
yeah, yeah.
and just knowing who you are. It's just so important.
So now what's next? How are you doing at this time? What's your current status? Are you finishing treatment? Are you almost done?
So I am in limbo for my next treatment, but it's supposed to be my last. I'm crossing my
Yeah.
fingers. You can't see that.
All right.
Hopefully, it's my last treatment. It's going to be more chemo, but it will be in pill form. So it's something I have to take twice a day. It's unfortunately for 6 whole months, but I
Jeez.
know that, considering everything that I've already had to go through, I can do this too?
Totally. Totally. I have no
So,
doubts. When you said 6 months, I said, well, you've gone through all this already in
yes,
what, 6 months? You know?
exactly. Yeah, but I cannot wait to be done. Which it's looking like it'll be maybe in March, which is around Cora's birthday, my daughter's birthday. So
Oh, that'll
that
be
would
awesome.
be amazing.
Yeah, awesome, awesome birthday present for her. And do you have any goals after treatment? Anything you like really want to do that maybe you haven't in the past year?
It's tricky just because I want to set things to look forward to, but with like the pandemic and everything, I'm just so nervous.
Yeah,
And probably because I've had to have this immunocompromised, I've had to be very careful.
that's
Um,
right.
And so I'm still nervous about like venturing out into the world, but I still have goals for myself. More so like mentally and physically, and just really catering what my priorities are, and not so much I guess what others expect from me,
Yeah.
just putting all my good energy into my daughter, my husband. Finding that quality time with them is really important to me. Like, it's always been important to me, but just I guess I'm just being selective now of like how I spend my time, and I think that's okay.
Oh, it's definitely okay. It's definitely okay, and it's a great way to be. And you should place your own priorities first,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
your priority is to place all attention on your family, I mean, nobody's gonna argue with that. I'm not anyway. I think that's perfect. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us. I think it was great, and just a continuation of your blog and your Instagram, which
Yes.
you can find at My Lump Sum. That's the Instagram at My Lump Sum, MYLUMPSUM. And so you can follow her there if you'd like. The WordPress, I'm not too sure of, but I will link that and and place that in the outro. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it's always fun talking to you. I appreciate your friendship a lot, and
Oh, likewise.
yeah, and I hope to see you at work soon. I hope.
Yeah, I do miss work. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just having that kind of normalcy back would be wonderful. So that may be in the works.
Thank you, Stephanie, and
Thanks,
appreciate
Derek.
you coming on the Link Caregivers Corner podcast.
I hope you enjoyed episode 7 of the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. I would love some feedback on the show. Please drop a comment on the page if you are or are not enjoying the podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. I would love to hear the constructive feedback from the listeners. Subscribe to Inland Caregiver Resource Center's page on YouTube and listen to our previous episodes along with all upcoming episodes. I hope you will join me again in November as we discuss National Family Caregiver Appreciation Month, Alzheimer's Awareness Month, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and International Stress Awareness Month. The beginning of Hanukkah is also going to be on the 28th of November, and ICRC Week, so stay tuned for information on that. We're going to have some great information on those topics, and so I hope that you come back and listen in November. If you, a neighbor, friend, relative, or colleague need resources with caregiving, please contact Inland Caregiver Resource Center at 800-675-6694. Add us on Facebook at facebook.com/ICRC1985. You can follow us on Instagram at Inland Caregivers, so that's at INLANDCAREGIVER. Like and subscribe to Inland Caregiver Resource Center on YouTube. And of course, check out our beautiful new website at www.inlandcaregivers.org. I also want to go ahead and plug Stephanie's WordPress. So it's mylumpsum.wordpress.com. And so I wanted to go ahead and once again thank my guest, Stephanie Hensley, for joining me on the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. Keep listening to Inland Caregivers Corner for information and resources as we continue to cope with and manage the challenges of caregiving together. I'm Derek Chacon, and continue to care for yourself, loved ones, and your community. Take care.